fans from all over the world, welcome to another episode on Patriot TV, your move sports, information and entertainment. With me is my partner, Miriam. Miriam, welcome to the show.
How are you doing today?
Very, very
It
good.
is so good to be here. We all started the season pretty well. You know, every team started with a great determination in them that they are going to finish top there. But yeah, we are. This is the seventh, and we've played 37th game so far, and we are playing the 38th game, which is the last game of the season, by this weekend. So yeah, let's give you the review. The preview of the matches we've watched so far.
All right, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. And it seems we'll get there. So let's talk about the relegation fight.
Yeah.
Of course, we have Burnley and Wolves who are confirmed relegated.
Yeah.
Now, there are two teams fighting for survival. West Ham, Tottenham. Okay? And Tottenham play Everton on Sunday.
Yes.
West Ham are playing Leeds. Both of them are playing at home.
Definitely.
Both of them are playing at home. Tottenham currently leads with 2 points. But if they drop points against... they need a draw because they have a better goal difference. But should they lose against Everton and West Ham gets the win, they are going to get relegated. So let me start with, who do you want to see relegated and why? And what do you think the scores will be?
Well, to be honest, I would love to see Tottenham relegate. Why? Because I'm an Arsenal fan. I know there's this hatred right there. But then Tottenham didn't perform pretty well. Their performance this season was quite woeful. Look at we all know Tottenham to be among the top 6. So for a top 6 team to be hanging down there is quite shameful from their parts. But then, what can we say? But looking at how the next game is going to be, which is the last game of the season, which they're going to play against Everton. Everton is not really a team to write off. They've done it against Arsenal. They've done it against Man City.
Yeah.
They know how to fight pretty well when they face the top teams. So it's not going to come easy. Fine, Tottenham have they have the better advantage because they are playing at home. But then they don't know what Everton will be bringing to the table. So the match is going to be tough. But for West Ham against Leeds, West Ham is going to play very, very well because they know what is at stake. And since they are playing at home, they will give in all their best. But then, if they win, can they win? Yes, they can win. But can Tottenham lose? Knowing fully where they are going to relegate, I don't think so. But there is so much to hope for or to look out for in the game.
Okay. All right. For me, it really doesn't bother me who relegates. But one thing I want to mention is that this is the second consecutive season where Tottenham is having a very poor season. And actually they've run through coaches. Started with Frank, and now they are ending with Roberto De Zerbi. And even then, you see the way they play, you see the things that they do, and it's not so. But even the commitments and the intensity with which they play, it's all just so missing. But anyway, let's move on from there. So moving on, let's talk about the fight for Europe. Of course, the fight for Conference League spot is hotting up. You have Chelsea, you have Brentford, you have Sunderland, and you have Brighton. Brighton are currently in the Europa League spot, but should they drop points on the last match, they can potentially drop into the Conference League spot. But however, putting that aside, Chelsea, Brentford, and Sunderland are the main team. And here's the funny thing: should Chelsea, who are playing away, and Brentford, who are also playing away at Anfield, should they both lose, Sunderland win at home, they can actually make it to Conference League. What do you think?
And let's not forget something. Chelsea is going away from home to play against Sunderland.
Wow.
So that match is it's not going to come easy for Chelsea.
So it's the match that decides who goes to Europe.
And the match is going to Sunderland. You know, they just came back from they were promoted into the EPL this season. So for a promoted team to be in that spot, that means they have done so well. They have done their due diligence. Now, looking at the fact that they have the opportunity to play in the Europe, do you think they are going to lose against Chelsea? I don't think so.
Nah.
They are going to give in their best.
That promises to be an interesting matchup for you to keep an eye on.
Interesting.
Okay, so moving on. As for Europa League, Chelsea still has they still stand a chance to go to Europa League if they actually win, but I don't think so. Anyway, but you also have Bournemouth, you have Brighton, you have Chelsea, and you also have Brentford, who still also stand a chance to go to Europa League in this case. However, Bournemouth still stand a chance of going to Champions League. They are currently 6th,
yes.
and Aston Villa have gotten direct qualification through by winning the Europa League. So if they maintain their 6th position, they are in for Champions League in that spot. Of course, they wanted to be 5th to be sure.
Yeah.
So as a stories for the God does not happen, you know. So but 6th can still get them to Champions League. So in this game, most of them are not playing. I think they'll be playing amongst themselves and all of that. So
they are going to be playing against Liverpool, and them going to Anfield is not going to be easy.
Yeah,
it's not going to come easy. But then we saw what Bournemouth did against Man City.
Yes,
they almost defeated them, if not for the 9-minute goal by Haaland. Can Bournemouth do it? Yes, they can, because they have been so impressive in their away games. I'm not going to write them off. I believe they can actually pull a draw out of the match.
Okay, so let's see what they pull out of that match. Then now let's talk about the performances of the so-called big teams in this season. We'll look at the top 5 teams, and then we'll look at top 5 teams and their coaches also, and then we'll look at that. So let's start with Chelsea. Chelsea started the season as at the transfer window that ended in August or September. They had spent over £1 billion on their squad, and they started the season with Maresca, who won them the Club World Cup, and then somewhere along the way they sacked him, brought him Liam Rossignol, and then also parted ways with him. Now they are currently with a caretaker coach, and now they've actually agreed for Xabi Alonso to take up in next season. So how would you rate Chelsea's season this season?
To be honest, I wouldn't give them, if I'm to give them a pass mark, I'll give them a 4/10.
Wow.
Why? Because they got the players.
Yeah.
The money was spent, but then they didn't perform. Though they had injuries here and there because Palmer wasn't around, Reece James and all, but then they did not perform. I don't know why they went ahead to spend on young players. Though I know young shall grow, and they are open. I mean, they are packing them up for the coming seasons potential and all. But then, looking at it for a team like Chelsea, who knows the importance of playing in Europe and all, I expected them to put in more effort in their games. But yeah, they didn't do that. Now they are struggling for the Europa. They didn't perform well.
All right, so I guess not so great a season for them. So well. And also for me, it's actually, I'm not surprised, because for me the business model, so to speak, that the club seems to be taking is not sustainable, because you are investing in so many young players, no experience. Young players don't grow linearly. They have different growth spots and all of that. And also, you actually had a good coach managing them, but you know, when there's so much interference outside of football, in football, it affects. So I think that's the story of Chelsea for this season. So let's move on. Let's go to the defending champion. Well, that's actually wrong to call them that anyway. So Liverpool, they were supposed to be the defending champion, but this actually happens to be one of the worst Premier League title defense in history. Even Leicester were not this bad when they defended their win in the Premier League. And we saw, and this season started with them spending over £500 million, breaking the record for the expensive players in both Britain and also along the world twice. And they brought in Ugo Ekitike, they brought in Isak, they brought in so many new players. But what happened?
Yeah, they sold their best players. Selling off their best players was what happened to them. Why did they let Luis Diaz go? The moment Luis Diaz left, it was as if he left with their midfield. And that really affected them. Then again, the Salah this season, Salah wasn't the Salah we saw last season.
Okay.
Though I want to believe he had a fallout or something with slots, which really affected.
I was about to ask that.
It affected them, but then you know, it is a different thing to bring in good quality players, but then as you're bringing in the quality players, you don't want your own best players, the ones you have already, to go, because it's going to affect the new players you're bringing in. They are just coming in. Don't forget, he brought them from different leagues. It's not as if they were playing in the EPL before or something, apart from Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a new player coming into another league, different league, which they knew nothing about, it is not going to gel. They are not going to gel up easily, you know. That was one of the main problems they had.
But speaking of players they brought in they brought in about 3 players, Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, and this Frimpong guy.
Yes,
okay.
Frimpong.
But for me, I think for me, part of the reasons I see what happened is that they actually lost a lot of their creative power, and they didn't replace that. So that's actually, for me, that's my own opinion. But let's move on. Let's talk about Manchester United. How would you rate their season?
Do you want me to rate them before Amorim or after?
That's actually a valid question. So let's split Man U season in 2 halves.
Okay.
Let's look at the Amorim half.
Yeah.
How was the Amorim half?
Well, the Amorim half was, at first, it felt as if he was taking them to the promised land. But then something happened and
they got lost in the wilderness.
And they made themselves almost 10th on the 10th position or something. I can't remember, but they were so low. Thank God for Carrick. We saw what he did when he was brought in as a caretaker last season. And he did that magic this season again, which was the reason why they had decided to officially give him the position.
Yes, announced today.
As a manager. So if I'm going to rate Carrick's performance, I'll give them an 8/10.
Yeah.
Not because no, they performed so well. It was quite unfortunate they couldn't win the league, but yeah, they performed so well.
Which league were they winning?
No. Since I'm giving him 8, I mean 8 is a pass mark, you know.
Okay, well, I didn't understand where you are going to win the league from.
Let me give them the assurance, you know. We can't just let them off.
Okay, all right. So moving on to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Unai Emery. You know, every time he does well, people start comparing him when he was at Arsenal, that they should have given him time and everything. I believe he found his level in Aston Villa, a club where they actually overachieve, and he's celebrated for that. When he found himself in Arsenal, he couldn't live up to the pressure. Same thing when he was in PSG. So for me, I think he found it. But another successful season for them.
Yeah.
They finished in the Champions League spot. Of course, won the Europa League, and what was his name? Unai Emery proving himself to be the Europa League specialist. The only time he failed was at Arsenal. Well, anyway,
the king of
so
Europa.
how would you rate their season?
You know, they started poorly. Aston Villa started poorly in the league, and before we know it, they started climbing up. Then I think they were second at a point.
Yeah, there was a time they had a run of 10 matches.
Unbeaten.
They were unbeaten.
Yes. And if you look at them very well, at the point, I was thinking they won't drop off from 1 to 4th. But yeah, you know, when the jungle started maturing, the men were being separated from the boys, but they had a very great season.
But they are back in the top 4 now.
Yeah,
they are
back
currently
in the,
fourth.
they are back. Yes.
Okay.
They had a great season, and congratulations to them on their Europa.
All right, congratulations Aston Villa and Emery on winning the Europa League. 2 more European finals to go, all both also involving English teams, Crystal Palace and Arsenal against PSG. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about Manchester City. What happened to Manchester City?
No, is it what happened to Manchester City, or how did Arsenal make it?
I think what happened to Manchester City.
Okay, what happened to Manchester City? Manchester City played so well. I mean, they performed well. They are the Man City we always know. They got new sign. They got great new signing. Semenyo, Gueye. They had fantastic players. But then, the winner of the league had determination. They outplayed them. They did whatever they could because they had determination to win the league. So I wouldn't ask what happened to Man City, but the people in front of them who decide not to leave the position they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now the reason why I asked what happened to Man City is this: in the last 12 years, Man City has spent so much. In fact, they've practically bought a whole team, 11 players. And then from January last year to this summer window, and then up to January again, they bought almost a brand new team. And every time at the start of the season, they started well, and then they started having issues, especially towards the end of the first half of the season, which was why they had to go into the market, and they brought in Goyi and Semenyo, which seemed to stabilize them, and they began to go on a rise again. But yes, the reason why I'm saying what happened to Man City is because every single time Arsenal played ahead of them, and Arsenal won, especially when the points were close, Arsenal played ahead of them, and they had to play catch up. They dropped points.
Yes.
In previous seasons, whenever they were playing catch up, they always win and get the points. But this season, it wasn't like that. They needed the points. It was in their hands, but they let it slip. So that was why I was asking what happened to Manchester City.
But let's not forget that their opponents, the people they played, also have something to fight for. And this season happened to be a season where everyone, at a point, we couldn't differentiate between the boys and the men, because every team was on their toes except for Wolves, who were right down there. Sunderland came in. They had a great run. I think they had a difficult game against Sunderland, Bournemouth, and the likes. Before, these are the people that Man City played and beat hands down. But for this season, everybody was on their toes because they have something to fight for.
Awesome. Then, let me ask you this question. Tuesday night, when the final whistle went and the full-time score was Bournemouth 1, Man City 1. Tell me what was going through your head.
Oh God, I cried. God, that was the best night of my life. I mean, it was unbelievable. The nostalgia feeling was, I can't explain how I felt, but I cried. Tears of joy. After 22 years, it finally happened. Wow, I'm gonna.
So let me ask, this is actually your first time witnessing Arsenal win the title, right?
To be honest, yes, because I started supporting Arsenal at, around 2007.
Okay.
So yeah, you can say I didn't even watch. I missed the Champions League. So this will be my first.
Okay, that was the season after the Champions League. Yeah.
So this is going to be my first Champions League final, and trust me, I don't want to feel whatever they felt in 2006. Yeah, but I'm being hopeful with that. So.
Okay, this actually been my third time. I started supporting Arsenal in 1998 because I love Dennis Beckham. I've loved him from Ajax. Because I actually watched the final. I was around 6, 7. I watched the final with my dad where they lost to Juve. And that was actually when I fell in love with Dennis Beckham. And then in the World Cup, I was voting in World Cup in Netherlands because of him in World Cup 1998. Especially that game against Argentina where he scored that wonderful goal. And the commentator just kept shouting, Dennis Beckham, Dennis Beckham, Dennis Beckham. And then there was this TV show, Rootmans, where they show EPL highlights. So first, I was actually in love with David Ginola because I love David Ginola. So that was why I was supporting Tottenham at first. And then there was this match, and they were showing Arsenal, and I saw Dennis Beckham. I was like, wow, yeah. And so I made the switch since then, and I never looked back.
So it wasn't Wenger for you, because I saw a lot of
a lot of people came. Wenger, actually when Kanu came, and they found out Wenger. So as Wenger, yes. So and actually as Wenger, Kanu was what brought people to Arsenal. Thierry Henry was what made them stay. But then for me, it was Dennis Bergkamp. It was Dennis Bergkamp. So I saw us win the trophy then. I think 1998. I saw us, that was after 1998. 1999 was Man U. Then the following season, I saw us win the trophy. I also saw us win it in 2000. And so I had those experiences. It was going to secondary school, especially when we won. But after that time, it became a dry spell. Very long dry spell. Over 2 decades of a dry spell. And but finally the wait is over, the siege is broken, the jinx is broken, name it, it's over. And Arsenal are back at the
Preach
top,
it.
right where they belong.
Preach it.
It's been a long time coming. We were all, and look at the reactions, look at the celebrations all over the world.
It's still going on.
The closet Arsenal fans are finally coming out. The proud Arsenal fans are there. Even the shy Arsenal fans, everyone is coming out. We've seen people celebrating, giving out gifts because Arsenal
it is
won.
Arsenal.
You know, this is a love you can't buy. This is a love you can't hide away. So it was amazing. But I have a feeling that the best is yet to come. Fans are actually waiting for Arsenal to actually lift the trophy.
We have opened the floor.
And then, but of course, we're also waiting for the big one.
Yeah.
This
coming.
time, we there's no room for magic because, of course, one thing about Arteta is that he always improves from every step.
Definitely.
So, and we are looking forward to that. But let's talk about Arsenal season in general,
Okay.
in just a sentence, so that we can quickly round up.
It was phenomenal. They had a fantastic season. I mean, do you know how many times Arsenal have been up there? We came down to just take a sip of water for Man City to climb
Just for
up.
a small break.
Just for a small break. Then Man City climbed up and felt like the king. In fact, a fan of them brought a bottle to come and mock Arsenal. But then it wasn't over.
It wasn't over.
We climbed
until
up
it finally
and then
became over.
it's not about, before they always call us the king of possession, the king of... No. The point is getting 3 points. 3 points is the sure key. And that 3 points was Arsenal this season. In some games, they didn't score much goals.
Yeah.
1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Now, why? Because we know what we are playing for now. They had the determination. They've been preparing for it for the past how many seasons now, and it finally came to pass.
And let's speak about Guardiola. He's leaving.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing journey with Guardiola in the Premier League. 10 seasons. He has won so many titles. Over
many.
I think five Premier League, 6 Premier Leagues. A couple of FA Cup, Carabao Cup. At the time they won the quadruple, but at the national level, that is all the cups in England, they won everything in a season. It's amazing achievement. So we wish him all the best wherever he goes. And of course, Enzo Maresca is set to take over next season. So it's going to be amazing. And we will also talk about the World Cup. We saw the lists coming out recently. Let's talk about the control. Well, people find it controversial. Yeah, Pedro being dropped for Brazil. Do you think it was a good selection?
To be honest, I was shocked too because with his performance, though Chelsea had a woeful performance, but Pedro was always consistent. He was there. It was current. So I was thinking Ancelotti was going to give him the opportunity to come prove himself in the world stage, but then for
me, the argument for me is that Jan Pedro has played, I think, 8 games for Brazil, and he hasn't even scored in any one of them. And I think that as a striker, that is actually an indictment against you.
Of it, I thought they always look at the performance in the league.
I'm just saying, if you look at all the players, all the strikers that they've tried, Thiago scored when he came to play. And you've played 8 games, you haven't scored. So in terms of form, he's actually one of the good players in form. It's like that. Similarly, in England, Foden and Cole Palmer were dropped from the England squad. Do you think Tuchel was right to do that?
To be honest, it was right because Cole Palmer's injury didn't let us see the best of him this season. So the injury, and for Foden too. To be honest, I have no issue with the two. The only problem I have is Arnold not in the list and Gibbs White.
Morgan Gibbs White.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually I felt Morgan Gibbs White had done enough to get. In fact, is the highest English goal scorer highest English goal scorer in this season. Even more than what's his name, Ole Watkins. Yes. And so that shows you the kind of season he had, and he carried Nottingham Forest all the way to the Europa League semi-final before they lost to Aston Villa. So he had a good shot. I was surprised, but then I'm not surprised because England had a lot of great. They have currently the current crop they have a lot of great midfield players at the moment in that instant. Then also, let's talk about Harry Maguire. Do you think his dropping was justified?
Was it justified? Maguire too had a great season. He was there. He has improved. His improvement was supposed to end him a spot, but then we don't know what what Tuchel saw. But then the only defender that was there that was shocking to me was John Stones. Yeah, and in my head I kept asking, is Tuchel going to Man City's training ground to go and watch John Stones? Because we didn't see much of him this season.
Yeah, he had an injury-blighted season.
Yeah, so the question is he going to Man City playing ground to go? I mean, training ground to go and watch him for him to know that yes, he's eligible.
Okay, let me play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I think this has been one of the most intense seasons so far, and everybody has been talking about the workload, the number of games they've played, and number of minutes, and World Cup is just like a week or two to go. Now, this is John Stone, who didn't play much this season, who's been out injured, but now he's back, he's fit, and he's fresh. That is me playing the argument of a devil's advocate. So looking at that, but I felt, no matter how bad it was, Harry Maguire should have been in that team. If for nothing else, even if he's not going to start, even if he's not going to play regularly, if for nothing else, but for two things: one, the leadership he brings; two, the clutch goals he scores from set pieces. You need someone like that in your team, and of course, the experience he has.
Yes,
you can't buy that. You can't buy that. So it's been fun bringing you all this review. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, subscribe, and enjoy our videos. Also, comment. Let's hear from you on your thoughts on what we've discussed so far. And also, we'll be here to give you updates. Next, on Sunday, the Premier League will be playing its last games. We'll also be bringing you fans' reaction from that game, and of course, the celebrations of Arsenal fan. So keep it locked down with us. From Miriam. Have a lovely day.